Hello, likers. Welcome back to our channel. It's me, your fave, your one and only, your baby girl, Malika. So, likers, today we are doing the critical review of Mr. Aloy's series, When Marriage Becomes a Nightmare, episode 53, part 2. Guys, sorry that I'm doing it this late because of the weather. It was raining heavily. So, it starts with the new owner of the house, coming to chase Jonathan and Benita out of the house. Yes, because he needs to occupy his place, that is his home. He needs to occupy it. So Jonathan could not believe that they were leaving. So the next thing shows Jonathan and his daughter who has gone somewhere to drop their things, and now they were just moving around to look and to get familiar with the environment. You could see the frustration in Jonathan. You could see how disappointed he was at himself because, like, he is a dad. He's supposed to protect his daughter, but look at what he did. So you could see that he was very disappointed, but pride, he could not apologize, but he was remorseful, because he could not believe that he himself, brought a woman into his house, that would take away everything, something that he did not even provide for his daughter, something that his ex-wife did. She did something for his daughter, but he ruined everything. He was so depressed and all the rest. But he found out something, intriguing. Benny, when he was stressed out, Benny made him to understand that she has money, but the money is in a safe deposit account, which means it's in a blocked account. She cannot access the money until a certain number of either years or time or period of time. Knowing fully what the kind of father that she has, her mother made provisions for her to protect her interest. So Jonathan was disappointed, that there's money, but he cannot lay his hands on. There's money. You could see that Clara loved this girl despite not being her biological mother. You understand? So Jonathan was disappointed, but he had to take his daughter away from that place, in as much as there was nothing much he could do. So the next thing shows Benita and her dad, Jonathan, they were sitting in this uncompleted building, which is their new home now. And Jonathan couldn't retain himself. Like, he was feeling so down. He was emotional. Benita is a child, even though she's very intelligent, but she's still a child. They're eating bread and water and juice and mineral. Jonathan was really, you could see that he could not believe that him, Big Joe of all people, Big Joe as he calls himself, has been reduced to nothing Joe. But Benita, what can she do? She cannot do much. She knows that it is not her fault. It was never her fault. It was her father's fault. So the next thing shows Benita who is sleeping, and her dad was just sitting there looking at her. I'm certain that a lot was going through his mind, because mere looking at her, I was wondering, like, imagining how could he have been so stupid to have trusted a maker to a point, a maker and Debbie to a point that they ruined his life, and started crying. He couldn't, like, he was crying uncontrollably. He couldn't control himself at this point, forgetting that he was sitting beside his daughter, and Benny heard her dad crying, and she had to wake up to find out what was going on. Like, as this is why they say people need to be very careful. They need to be careful with people around them, because it takes years through your sweat, your blood, to build, but it takes just a second for it to shatter. So he was really crying. He could not, even though he would tell his daughter to go to sleep, but she refused also, so he could not even control himself. The next day shows Jonathan and his daughter, they have slept through the night, thank God, alhamdulillah. Now it's morning. He needs to wake up. This is a time where there's no more sleeping, and waking up to, where's my food, I'm hungry. No, you have to look for that food, because now he's the mother, he's the father. He needs to feed his daughter. She has nowhere to go to. She's there with him. He wakes up, and definitely I'm certain that his protective instinct kicks in. He needs to look for something for his daughter to eat. But at this point, he was thinking, he realized that he has ruined his daughter's life. You know, Clara had a life mapped out for her, a bright future for her, but he ruined everything. So he realized that he needed to get up, without waking his daughter, to like just move from that place carefully, and go and look for something for her to eat. Because when she wake up, she's human, she needs to eat. She needs to go to school, transportation. She needs this, she needs that. So he left Benita sleeping on the mat. The next thing shows Jonathan outside. Jonathan is weeping bitterly. He couldn't believe that this was happening to him. And the only thing he wants now is for God to come to his rescue. He wants God to help him, because at this point, God is the only one he can depend on. There's nobody he can call to. There's no one that could come to his rescue right now. And for him, even if not for him, for the sake of his daughter, God should come to his rescue, because he needs to protect her, he needs to cater for her, because she's vulnerable. Now he's here, she's there. What if something happens to her? So the next thing shows Benita, who is laying down. She just woke up, she opened her eyes, and she realized that her dad, she was alone. And it's scary, for a little girl. She's 16. She was there with her dad. This is an uncompleted building. It's not as how they used to live in that massive house, and her father was there. Even if he's not around, she's protected. There's a four wall, but this is an uncompleted building. She got scared and she started looking for him, because at this point her mother is no longer in the country. Her mother is in Canada. It seems as if she does not even have a phone, or maybe her phone is somewhere. That's the only person she can count on. The only person that is immediately there is her father. So what will she do if her dad is not around? So you could see her being worried, looking for her dad up and down, scouting for him, calling his name. He's nowhere to be found. And she became scared, because, like, at this point now, I think a lot of things were going through her mind. She was thinking, like, maybe her dad has run away, like, what is going on? But all of a sudden, she heard footsteps and she saw her dad. You could see how her eyes lit up. She was happy, because she realized that, oh, her father did not run away. And immediately she wanted to know where he was from. And for once in a very long time, Jonathan went to look for food for his daughter. Like, he went to do odd jobs, so that he could get some money to buy food for them to eat. And that's when you realize that, they come to think of it, if Jonathan had been doing this a long time ago, they would not be in this kind of mess. Yeah, they wouldn't have been in this type of mess that they are in now. That's when you realize that Jonathan is a big mugu. Honestly speaking, he is a mugu. Because if only he had listened to his daughter, he will not be having this kind of problems. But Jonathan, we all know, will not listen to anybody. You understand? So he was happy, that at least he went and worked. He got food for him and his daughter. He got bread and beans, with Pepsi, pure water, and everything. And you could, Jonathan was eating like, somebody who has starved for days, like somebody who has walked through the valley of the shadow of death, or all those people that walked through the Sahara desert, to go to Europe, to cross the sea. You understand? That was how he was eating. But Benita, on the other hand, she was very grateful. She was happy. She said to herself that I know it's not much, but I'm glad this is your sweat. This is the sweat of your forehead. You're making efforts for me. You see, she was grateful, because this is what she has been asking for her dad to be responsible. She was very grateful. She was not being a brat. She did not, taunt him. No. On the contrary, she was grateful. And Jonathan was eating, sucking his fingers like, oh, more. God, this life no balance at all. But Debbie, on the contrary, she was happy. She was having meal. She was eating. Her dad was there, drinking his pure water, without any issue. He was happy. This life, life. Life is lifing. The next thing shows Debbie, that is Benny, sorry, that's reading her book. She's back from school, and now she's getting used to. You could see that she's not afraid. She's getting used to the environment. Jonathan is back from school, is back from work, from doing his menial jobs. Debbie is back from school, so they are both asking how each other's day has been. And normally when Jonathan goes like that, when he returns with food, for them to eat. And you could see Debbie, despite it not being much, but she loved it. She was happy. She was grateful. And you could see her smiling for her dad. You could see her admire her dad, for all the hard work he's doing, you know. And her dad brought rice this time around after a long time that we eating bread. He bought the rice, and he wanted to know how the meal was, Like you could see that he was happy despite not having much. Jonathan was in a peaceful place. Even Debbie, Benny, she was happy, and she told her dad how sumptuous the meal was, and the fact that it was rice. It's been a while since she had rice, and her dad was happy that she was happy. You understand? This is how life should be. We should be contented. Yes, we are not saying that don't push, but be careful while pushing. Don't fall into the wrong hands. That is a problem. you know So Jonathan couldn't be happier that his daughter is appreciative of everything he does, and she too, she was very happy that her father of all people were hustling. So the next thing shows Jonathan and Debbie laying down, but all of a sudden Jonathan was feeling very sick. His tummy was paining. I think the effects of the substance that Jetta was putting in his meal has started taking effect. It's working. Little Benny was confused, didn't understand what was going on with her dad. She was calling her dad, trying to understand what's happening, but he was in so much pain. Like this man was in so much pain, God, you know. And Debbie just needed to, look for means to get him up so that they could go, seek for help. And because she cannot carry her dad, see how heavy Jonathan is. It's not possible. So, like us, we are going to end this video. Honestly, if Jonathan come out of this and cannot think straight, does not know that he needs to look for means to reconcile with his wife, even if she has moved on, but they should be at peace. If he cannot do that, then he's on his own. Like as people should normalize being careful with people around them. Don't feel too comfortable. It might be very dangerous. So guys, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And on this note, I have to say bye guys.